Today's lesson is called Accidental Criminals? Hello everyone, my name is Jeff.
And my name is Helen.
And notice I did not read that title, Accidental Criminals. No, there is a question mark at the end of the title. So, accidental criminals? Was this criminal an accidental criminal or not? I don't know. There's a question here, and we need to answer it somehow.
Right. Now, the word criminal makes me think of someone who has robbed, stolen, or murdered someone. So as long as we don't do these horrible things, as well as obeying traffic rules and such, we're probably good to go. We're not going to be criminals. We're going to be good citizens. But the fact is that the law is varied and sometimes laws change, and there are laws that many of us probably don't even know exist. And this lack of knowledge makes it easy for us to break the law and become accidental criminals.
Accidental criminals. Wow, you can become a criminal without even trying. That's actually a bit scary. Anyways, folks, let's go ahead and get started on our lesson. We'll start reading right after this.
Accidental criminals? We all try our best to stay on the right side of the law. Most of the time, this is relatively easy. Don't steal, don't commit acts of violence, and obey the traffic regulations. But the law is long and complicated. In Taiwan, the criminal code alone has 36 chapters and 363 articles. As a result, there are plenty of seemingly harmless things that are, according to the law, punishable acts.
大家好，第一部分我们看到单字 punishable 这个字是形容词，指可惩处的，应给予处罚的。例如 Speeding is punishable by law here in Taiwan. 行车超速在台湾是犯法的。另外，补充这个字的名词 punishment, P-U-N-I-S-H-M-E-N-T, punishment 指惩罚、处罚。举例来说 The child's punishment is to go to bed without dinner. 这孩子的惩罚就是不准吃晚餐，饿肚子睡觉。
So the title of today's lesson is Accidental Criminals. And the first word here, accidental, is our first vocabulary word. And if something is accidental, it happened without planning. It happened unintentionally. So I could say something like, I didn't mean to push you. It was accidental. I bumped into you by accident. It was accidental that I pushed you. So I didn't do it on purpose. So here we're talking about becoming a criminal accidentally, or a person who is an accidental criminal broke the law without intending to do so.
There you go. They were criminals, or they became criminals by accident. They didn't mean to, didn't plan to, had no intention to, but they still became criminals. Again, that does sound kind of scary. Accidental, by the way, is the adjective. The noun would be accident. Every once in a while, you'll see a car accident. 2 cars or 3 cars, they smash together. Did those people do that on purpose? Did they want to ruin their cars and possibly injure themselves or others? No, they did this accidentally, on accident. It was accidental. Car accidents are rarely done on purpose. Usually they are accidental in nature. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started here. The first sentence says, we all try our best to stay on the right side of the law, i.e., we all try to not break the law. We try to be good, law-abiding citizens. We like to follow a code of conduct that makes us good people. People who don't break the law. People who are not criminals.
Right. So to be on the right side of the law is an idiom, and it refers to people who don't break laws. You can also say that someone ended up on the wrong side of the law, which means that they ended up becoming a criminal. And this often happens when people have a violent or negative childhood and they didn't have the proper support of adults or teachers, and they start doing petty crime. And eventually, as adults, they end up on the wrong side of the law, which means they break laws and maybe they get arrested. And this is a common idiom. Now, continuing on, it says most of the time, this is relatively easy. Don't steal, don't commit acts of violence, and obey the traffic regulations. So most of the time, it's very easy to stay on the right side of the law. Relatively meaning compared to other things or other similar things, it is quite easy because you just have to follow a few basic rules. Don't steal other people's properties, don't commit acts of violence, and obey the traffic regulations.
There you go. Staying on the right side of the law. It's not too tough. Don't steal stuff. Don't commit acts of violence. And obey traffic regulations. Don't run red lights and stuff like that. Don't speed in your car. Don't break the traffic rules or the traffic regulations. There you go. Further, don't commit acts of violence, okay? Generally, you don't do violence, you commit violence. Like you commit a murder or you commit suicide. You would use the word commit in those situations. Anyways, enough with those dark examples, okay? Let's go ahead and move on. The next sentence says, but the law is long and complicated. In Taiwan, the criminal code alone has 36 chapters and 363 articles. So somewhere in there is some obscure law that you have probably broken, and that makes you a criminal.
So if we were to look at Taiwan's criminal code, if we can have it all printed out, it's probably going to be as thick as a telephone book. It's going to be very thick because there are 36 chapters and 363 articles. And an article is a part of a legal document. So there are a lot of laws in Taiwan. And as a result, there are plenty of seemingly harmless things that are, according to the law, punishable acts. So we might end up doing things that we think, this is nothing, this doesn't mean anything, it can't be against the law to do this. But as it is, because we have all of these criminal codes and articles, then something that we do might end up becoming a punishable act. Now, a punishable act is an act that if you do it, you can be punished for doing it.
Earlier, we talked about stealing and acts of violence and traffic regulations, breaking traffic regulations. If you do bad stuff like this, if you steal, the law might punish you. If the police catch you stealing something, you go to court and the judge might say, hey, you need to go to jail for a year. That would be your punishment in that particular situation. So stealing, or theft, I should say, in this particular situation would be a punishable act. Okay, everyone, let's go ahead and take a short break. But when we come back, we'll read some more about being an accidental criminal.
Say, for example, that while traveling abroad, you buy a few boxes of locally produced medicine. When you get back to Taiwan, you realize you bought too much. So, with no way to return the medicine, you decide to sell the excess online. And now you're a criminal. According to Taiwanese law, anyone who sells drugs or medical equipment, which includes everything from band-aids to body fat monitors, without a government license, can get fined up to 2 million NT dollars.
第二部分，我们看到名词 excess 指过量、过多。例如 There is an excess of glue on the paper, so you should wipe some of it off. 这张纸上的胶水太多了，你应该擦掉一些。另外，这个字也可以当形容词，指过多的、额外的，念作 excess。我们可以说 Instead of throwing away excess food, you might want to put it in a container and save it for later. 不要把多余的食物丢弃，你可以把它放在容器中，晚点再吃。再补充几个相关用法。第一 ，in excess of 表示多于、超过，像是 The large animal's weight was in excess of 300 kilograms. 这只巨型动物重达300公斤以上。第二，这个字的字尾加上 ive 就成了形容词 excessive， 指过多的、过度的。举例来说 The air pollution in the city is partly caused by the excessive number of cars. 这个城市的空气污染部分是车辆过多造成的。再举一个例子There has been an excessive number of car accidents at this intersection. 这个十字路口发生过非常多次的车祸。再来，我们看到单字 Band-Aid 这个字是名词，意思是 OK 绷。举例来说 Jessica asked for a Band-Aid since she just accidentally cut herself. Jessica 需要 OK 绷，因为她不小心切到自己了。
And welcome back. So in the last part, we mentioned that there are some seemingly harmless things that are, according to the law, punishable acts. And now we're going to look at what some of those are. It says here, say, for example, that while traveling abroad, you buy a few boxes of locally produced medicine. When you get back to Taiwan, you realize you bought too much. So with no way to return the medicine, you decide to sell the excess online. Has that ever happened to you, Jeff? You go abroad, you buy some vitamins maybe, and then you decide that you come back to Taiwan, you realize, I bought too many bottles of vitamin. I can't finish them all by myself because there is an expiration date. How am I going to get rid of these really expensive bottles of vitamin? Have you ever tried selling them?
You're kind of putting me in a bind right now, okay? If I answer yes, I'm a criminal, and this is on the record, okay? It's being recorded, so I'm going to say no. I've never done that ever. And seriously, I haven't. In fact, for the most part, I've noticed that drugs and medicine and stuff like that in the United States is quite expensive compared to what you can get here in Taiwan. So I haven't had the need to do anything like that. But some people think, okay, I've got too much of this stuff, so I'll sell the stuff I don't need online and make some money. And that's good business, okay? Or it could make you some money. And there really doesn't seem to be anything wrong in what you're doing there. But apparently by doing this, you are a criminal. You're now a criminal if you do this, if you sell this excess stuff online. By the way, excess stuff is extra stuff. If you have too much of something, you can say you have that thing in excess.
Right. You can also say you want to trim off the excess fat on your steak or on your pork chops. That word is often used with fat on meat that you eat. When you don't want to eat meat that's too fatty, you can trim off or ask your butcher to trim off the excess fat. So, yeah, sometimes you have excess stuff that you've bought overseas in another country and you try to sell it back in Taiwan online. But if you do that, you would be breaking the law. Because according to Taiwanese law, anyone who sells drugs or medical equipment, which includes everything from Band-Aids to body fat monitors, without a government license can get fined up to 2 million NT dollars.
2 million NT dollars for Band-Aids, which I believe in Chinese are okay bon. Like if you get a little cut, your daughter gets a cut, a little boo-boo, you put an okay bond on that and it all goes away. Yes, that's what a Band-Aid is. But let's say you go abroad and you buy too many Band-Aids for some reason. I don't know why. You just did it on a whim. You come back to Taiwan, you realize the ridiculous thing that you did abroad. Buying too many Band-Aids, and you decide to solve your situation there or to remedy the situation by selling your Band-Aids, well, you're in trouble then. If you sell those Band-Aids and if you don't have a government license, you can get fined up to 2 million NT dollars. How about that? All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a short break, but don't go away. When we come back, we'll be wrapping up the first part of our lesson on being an accidental criminal.
You can get in trouble with the law even when your action stems from good intentions. If someone asks to borrow your ID, don't be too ready to say yes. Your ID could be used for illegal purposes, in which case the punishment or fine could fall on you.
第三部分，我们看到片语 stem from 表示由点点点造成，源自于点点点。举例来说 The country's current anti-war position stems from its violent history. 该国目前的反战立场源自于它充满暴力的历史。或是 The delay in his work stemmed from his poor time management. 他工作延误是由于不良的时间管理所造成。最后，我们看到单字 intention 这个字是名词，指意图、目的或打算。举例来说 It was never my intention to cause trouble. 我从来没有意图惹麻烦。或是 My intention is to get through the meeting as quickly as possible. 我打算要尽快开完这个会议。另外，补充两个相关片语。第一 have no intention of 加动词 ing 表示不想点点点，不打算点点点。例如 Brian has no intention of going out in this heat. Brian 不想在大热天出门。第二 with the intention of 加动词 ing 表示想要点点点，打算点点点。像是 I bought these flowers with the intention of giving them to someone, but I ended up keeping them. 我买了这些花打算送人，但最后却把它们留着。
So, you can be an accidental criminal by selling medical equipment or medicine online, those products that you bought overseas, because you want to make a little bit of extra money or you don't want to lose money because you don't need these products anymore. And in this case, you're doing something for your own good, for your own gain. However, it says here you can get in trouble with the law even when your action stems from good intentions. So even when you're doing something and you have the good of the public or someone else's benefit in mind, you can get in trouble for that as well. And here, the phrase stems from refers to something that is caused or that originates from something else. So I could say, for instance, his desire for wealth and success stems from a childhood spent in poverty.
That's where it comes from. That's his motivation. How about that? Now, I don't like this. Okay, you can get in trouble with the law even if you're acting in a good way. If you've got good intentions. By the way, if you've got a good intention, that means you're trying to do something good. You've got good reasons for doing something. You intend to do something good. You're not trying to be bad. You're trying on the opposite, to be a good person. Even then, you can become a criminal. Yes, if someone asks to borrow your ID, don't be too ready to say yes. Your ID could be used for illegal purposes, in which case the punishment or fine could fall on you.
Yes, unfortunately, we can't be too nice. We all try to be nice people. We try to help people when they're in need. But sometimes we just have to watch out for ourselves because we can't be too trusting. So if someone asks you, can I borrow your ID? I just need it for a day, half a day, and they give you a reason. You don't know if that reason is true. Maybe they're going to use your ID to import something illegal or to do some illegal act. And you think, well, that wasn't my intention, so I can't get in trouble for it. But according to this article, you can get in trouble for it because your ID, your identification, your name was used for this illegal act. So it's always better to err on the side of safety.
So there you go. Hey, you're the person who let this bad person use the ID. You are at fault. You are now a criminal. But I was just trying to be a nice guy. We don't care. You're a criminal even if you are an accidental criminal. All right, folks, with that, the first part of our lesson on accidental criminals is now in the books, and it's time to hear from the Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文一开始提到说，我们都会竭尽所能的遵守法律，那大多数的时候都还蛮容易的，像是不偷窃、不犯下暴行、遵守交通规则等等。好，课文这边用到一个单字是 commit 可以用来表达犯罪的犯或是做坏事的做的这种动词。好，那我们来学习它的字首字根。我们看到 MIT 或者是 MISS 这一类的字根呢，它就有送出或是投射的意思。像 missile 飞弹 MISSILE 它有这种飞弹导弹的意思。那从这个字就不难看出它的字根有这种投射的语义嘛。好，那么在 commit 这个字当中呢，它的字首 COM 表示一起，那么 MIT 表示送出。同学们可以试着想，我们在投入某件事情或是某段感情时，你会把所有的心力，把自己的全部一起都送出去，奉献出去。好，用这样的方式也许可以联想到 commit 它有承诺、投入或是致力于什么什么的意思。另外我们也可以试着联想说，一个人犯罪啊，他做坏事的时候，表示他全部都豁出去了嘛，全部都给出去，用这样去联想说 commit 它有犯罪这个犯的那种语义。好，顺便补充一下有这一类字根的单字。第一个补充的是 emit EMIT， 它的字首 E 表示向外或是由内向外，那么 MIT 表示送出投射，那么合在一起emit 它就有发出、发射、散发的意思。好，第二个补充的是 remit REMIT， 它的字首 RE 表示 back 回，那么 MIT 表示 send 送出，合在一起就是 send back 送回来。那同学们试着联想哦，一个人他原本该付的代价刑责被退回来了，那就表示他的处罚或是债务被免除了，所以 remit 这个字就有赦免、免除的意思。好，我们也可以去联想说，你本来投射出去的力量再反弹回来，那这时候它的力道就减轻了嘛，所以 remit 它也有缓和、减轻的意思。第三个补充的是 submit SUBMIT， 它的字首 SUB 表示下方，字根 MIT 表示送出。同学们试着想，东西如果是从下属下位者呈送上去、呈交上去，我们这样应该就可以联想到 submit 它有提交、呈递，或是其实有服从的意思。好，第四个补充的是 omit OMIT， 它的字首 O 是源自于 OB， 只是因为 B 碰到 M 而被同化省略了。那么 O 在这边是做强调用，然后 MIT 它有 send 送出或者是 let go 放行、释放，就是那种吼一气的意思，所以你把它合在一起 omit 它就是有遗漏啊、删除的意思了。好，第五个补充的是 dismiss DISMISS， 它的字首 DIS 表示离开、远离，那么字根 MISS 表示丢。当我们把事物丢开、丢远了，我们就可以联想到说 dismiss 它其实有这种摒除、搁置的意思，它也可以表达解雇、解散。好，以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾这些单字吧。
Accidental. This insurance policy covers traffic accidents, vehicle theft, and accidental damage. Relatively.The new computer software is relatively easy to use. You shouldn't have any problems. Commit. People who commit crimes shouldn't be surprised if they are caught and punished. Regulation. The government introduced new regulations to keep citizens safe during earthquakes. Excess. Tom bought more cheese than he could eat, and now he must decide what to do with the excess. Intention. When I said that you looked tired, it wasn't my intention to upset you.Well,
this is the end of our program. We hope you had a great time with us today. Hope you can join us again. From all of us here, I'm Helen.
I'm Jeff.
See you next time.